His name we hope. I know God will not be shaken. God is here with us. He's already won. I know God will not be shaken. Now in God we trust, in His name we hope. I know God will not be shaken. God is here with us. He's already won. I know God will not be shaken.
Sziasztok! Welcome! Happy Sabbath! It's so glad to start the Sabbath together. You know what's one thing I'm really looking forward to when Jesus comes back? It's to start every single Sabbath together. No more physical distances, no more time zone differences to manage, no more pain and sadness, or maybe pandemics that might temporarily keep us apart. We will be all together, starting every Sabbath together by worshiping God. But for now, I'm very happy to have this opportunity to start the Sabbath together online with you. I'm wishing you a very warm welcome from Hungary, and I hope you will have a blessed evening. Feel free to introduce yourself a little bit in the comments below, or even drop a prayer request, because we would be more than happy to pray for you. Tonight, as usual, we will have a lot of songs to lift up our soul together to the Creator of the universe. We will have an amazing testimony from Greece, and our speaker of the evening, Thomas Rasmussen, will share with us God's words. And now let's start this evening's program with a song from Hungary.
Through songs, testimonies, and short inspirational talks, we are trying to focus on our great God. See you every Friday evening for this international program. Shalom Vespers.
It's such a blessing that when you and I read throughout the scriptures, we find that God's interventions in our lives is because He loves us so much and wants to have that relationship with us. And so my story goes like this. I had 3 problems and God solved all of them. This goes back in the summer of 2018 when I just graduated from the Adventist University of the Philippines, and it was my time to go home to Greece. My flight was scheduled July 9, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I remember on that day, I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, had my devotion with God, and packed my last few things before my friends drive me to the airport. And before I left the house, I made sure that my luggages, all in all, were below or either 40 kilos as it was my allowed weight. When I reached the airport and proceeded to the gate, for my amazement, there was no people in line. And when I reached the counter and gave my documents to the ground stewardess, problem number 1 comes. She types in, she looks at me, and she tells me this: Mr. Siwale, you don't have a ticket. Your ticket has been canceled. She turns the monitors and there's a red X on my name. Wow. So I called back home, which was 1 o'clock in the morning, to explain the situation to my mom, and my mom proceeded calling the agency that was responsible for my ticket. After calling and calling and calling, she finally gets a hold on them. She explains the situation and they were able to temporarily solve the issue. Problem number 2 comes. She proceeds and tells me the following: we have another problem. Your name, your last name, instead of Moses Siwale, it is typed in as Moses Siwale. She tells me that I can leave it like this, but the immigration most likely will cause you a problem. So I had to call again back home, and then my mom to call again the agency. Finally, they were able to resolve the matter. Now, it was time for me to weigh in my luggages. Remember, I'm only allowed 40 kilos. And so I made sure that on one luggage I had 13 kilos and on the other one I had 27. All in all 40. So I place in the first one and it says 15. Wow. I place in the second one and it says 29. All in all 44. Wow, I was excess by 4 kilos, and she tells me, the ground stewardess tells me that we have another problem. You are excess your limit by 4 kilos. And at that time, I had given all my money, to my friends since I was leaving the country, and I figured that I don't have any need of them anymore. And either way, there wouldn't be enough for me to pay the excess 4 kilos. Because I was informed that, paying even for 1 kilo, it's quite expensive. And so I've even wrapped up, in the airport, those plastic bags, around your luggage and all that. And so it would have been a hassle for me to start cutting the plastic and then to unpack. And I didn't even know what things to unpack if that was the case. But how God intervened. The ground manager who was there witnessed the whole situation from the very beginning. He comes over and asks what's going on over here. The ground stewardess explains to him that Mr. Siwale is past his weight limit by 4 kilos. He looks at me, he looks at her, and tells her the following, how God intervened. This young man, I have witnessed him from earlier. He had problem with his ticket and he had a problem with his name. Imagine, from all the people going and coming, he noticed me. He looks at her and tells her this. He had these 2 problems earlier. And are we going to add more problem into it? Are we going to add more stress into it? He looks at me and tells me, sir, take your stuff and you may proceed. Enjoy and have a safe flight. Wow. If I didn't have problem with my ticket nor my name, there is no chance that they would allow me to pass without me paying. Where God guides, He provides. Shalom, dear brothers and sisters.
imeliselt suur ja ma ei tea, kus ilma sinuta kord elada ma sain. Nüüd sa lapseks võtnud mind, su perekonnaliikmeks sain. Ei iial ole üksi ma, sest minu kõrval kõnnid sina. Laulan sulle kiitust, sest sa püha oled, ainus Jumal üle taeva ja maa. Laulan sulle kiitust, sest sa püha oled, ainus Jumal üle taeva ja maa. Isa, sinu armastus on imeliselt suur ja ma ei tea, kus ilma sinuta kord elada ma sain. Nüüd sa lapseks võtnud mind, su perekonnaliikmeks sain. Ei iial ole üksi ma, sest minu kõrval kõnnid sina. Laulan sulle kiitust, sest sa püha oled, ainus Jumal üle taeva ja maa. Laulan sulle kiitust, sest sa püha oled, ainus Jumal üle taeva ja maa.
When I was very little, my parents used to start every Sabbath by inviting people over from church, by picking a passage from the Bible and talking about it. And me as a child, I really enjoyed that because it meant that every single Friday evening, all my friends from church came over and we played together while the grown-ups were chatting. As I grew up, I started to understand that actually it was much more than just chatting. It is such a blessing when we can finally put down all the burdens, all the problems after a long working week, and we can find peace and comfort in God. And sometimes it's not so easy to find that right away and to keep the Sabbath as holy and dedicated to God. Personally, Shalom Vespers helps me a lot with that because it's so amazing to start every Friday from now on with all these songs and talks and testimonies. Because sometimes we forget why the Sabbath was created, but actually Genesis 2:3 reminds us, because it says, "So God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it God rested from all his work he had done in creation."
Through songs, testimonies, and short inspirational talks, we are trying to focus on our great God. See you every Friday evening for this international program. Shalom Vespers.
Hogyan is érthetném meg mindazt, amit értem tettél? Életem túl kicsinyke fény, a végtelen egén. Minden, mit adhatnék, az nem sok, egy csepp a folyóban. Mondd, hogy szerethetnélek jobban.
Mondd, miért élek úgy, mint rég, te szabadságra hívsz. Értem, a szíved összetört, és könnyek nélkül sírsz. Tudom, hogy most is engem vársz, hogy szívem átadjam. Mondd, hogy szerethetnélek jobban.
Jöjj, Úr Jézus, úgy várlak, te formálj, mert jó vagy. Gyógyíts meg, mert elfáradtam, szükségem van rád, Uram, hogy tölts be, és áld meg, hogy rejts el, és védj meg. Változtass meg, hogy mindig veled járjak, Úr Jézus. Úgy várlak.
Egyetlen reményem, hajnal csillagom, uralkodj a szívem mélyén, fényed ragyogjon. Ha eltávolodnék, tarts két karodban, mondd, hogy szerethetnélek még jobban. Jöjj,
Úr Jézus, úgy várlak, te formálj, mert jó vagy. Gyógyíts meg, mert elfáradtam, szükségem van rád, Uram, hogy tölts be, és áld meg, hogy rejts el, és védj meg. Változtass meg, hogy mindig veled járjak, Úr Jézus. Úgy várlak. Jöjj és formálj át, jöjj formálj, gyógyíts meg, mert elfáradtam, szükségem van rád, Uram, hogy tölts be, és áld meg, hogy rejts el, és védj meg. Változtass meg, hogy mindig veled járjak, Úr Jézus. Úgy várlak, Úr Jézus. Úgy várlak.
jöjj és formálj, formálj, Uram.
Úgy várlak, jöjj, és tölts be.
Through songs, testimonies, and short inspirational talks, we are trying to focus on our great God. See you every Friday evening for this international program. Shalom Vespers.
Our speaker tonight is Thomas Rasmussen. Thomas is a pastor in Aarhus, which is the second largest city in Denmark. His wife Tabitha is a nurse, and while she works part-time, Thomas enjoys spending time with the two youngest of their 3 boys, Philip, Lucas, and Daniel. He enjoys playing chess and he loves playing music, mainly piano. Tonight he will talk us about hope and the situation when all hope is lost.
Towards the end of Paul's life, we find him, Luke, and a few others together with a boat full of prisoners, sailors, and soldiers on their way to Rome. Now, Paul has appealed his case to Caesar. He has invoked his right as a Roman citizen to stand in front of the emperor. And on their way across the Mediterranean Sea, the wind's in their favor, everything is going smoothly. Paul, he says, this is not going to end well. This is the wrong time of year to be making a journey like this. But they choose to continue. They want to get to Rome. And when then suddenly the winds shift, and it says that a real northeastern comes down on them, Paul witnesses panic. Paul witnesses crisis. Paul witnesses people all around him giving up. Now, they do everything they can because as people, of course, in a crisis, we do everything we can. They throw cargo overboard. They throw the tackle overboard. They throw everything they can possibly do without overboard. And when they have not seen the sun, moon, or stars for 3 days, they finally throw hope overboard. I think we've witnessed this over the past year during the pandemic. People throwing hope overboard. And some for lesser reasons and some for greater reasons, because it has been said too many times during this pandemic that we are all in the same boat. And I don't believe that's true. Sure, we're all in the middle of the same pandemic, but that's the same storm. It's not the same boat. Some people have lost their jobs, some people have died, and other people are fine. But we are in the same storm. And in any storm, in any crisis, a lot of us start to question our faith. And maybe you have as well. What do we do in those situations? Well, Paul, on this ship, he reassures them. And the reason he could reassure them is because an angel shows up and tells Paul that no lives are going to be lost, but they have to stay with the ship. And when Paul is relaying this message to the sailors and to the prisoners, to the captain, to the owner, I wonder if Luke wrote it down, because when I read this, I was like, you know what? Yeah, this is really a statement of faith in the middle of crisis. He says, he tells them to keep courage because I have faith in God that it will be exactly as I have been told. That's an incredible statement to make. That is courage. That is calm. That is hope in the middle of a storm. I have faith in God that it will be exactly as I have been told. Now, whatever you have gone through and whatever we will go through in this pandemic and in other crises of life, how can we find courage like this? Well, I think one of the solutions, at least, is to read these stories. because I know that the temptation is to give up. But when we read stories like this and we see the enormous faith that Paul had, the way he encouraged people around him not to give up hope, then hopefully we can do that too. We can dig deep, we can encourage people around us, and we can say with the stories that we know that it will be like God has said. And that means that in the end, whatever boat you're in, whatever storm that hits us, there will come a day when we are standing on that sea of glass. And on that day, we will all be in the same boat, because we will be in the boat that Christ sends us for our salvation. And I pray that day comes soon.
It was so great to start the Sabbath together. Don't forget that Shalom Vespers return every Friday with songs, testimonies and talks. We hope to see you again next week. Shabbat Shalom, Happy Sabbath, Boldog Szombatot, Sziasztok!
Through songs, testimonies, and short inspirational talks, we are trying to focus on our great God. See you every Friday evening for this international program. Shalom Vespers. Through songs, testimonies, and short inspirational talks, we are trying to focus on our great God. See you every Friday evening for this international program. Shalom Vespers.